everyone. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I'm a Canadian knitter, and today we're here to talk about my 2026 knitting plans. I am so excited for this video. For me, planning is like a big part of the hobby, and each knit takes such a long time that you're always like thinking about what you want to cast on next and like color combinations, patterns that are coming out. So I've put a lot of thought into this and I'm really excited to share with you. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start by talking a bit about my goals and intentions for the year. Then we'll get into my actual like make 9 mood board, what I'm planning to knit more specifically this year. And then finally, if you want to stick around, I'm going to talk a bit about my plans for this channel and like videos that I want to put out. This is still a pretty new channel for me. I started it at like, I think the beginning of October. So I figured it would be a good time for us to kind of sync on that. Okay, so I've got my tea. I've got a bowl of yarn here that I can share with you. Just yarn I'm planning to use for the year. And if you see me looking down here, that's where my screen is. Last year was my first full year of knitting and my first year of knitting garments. If you saw my Everything I Knit in 2025 video, I feel like I'll be referencing that a lot in this video. And basically, I just got really excited last year about learning as much as possible, being able to wear the things that I was making, being able to make clothes that were to my taste and matched my personal style. And I feel like I got so overexcited that I ended up knitting like a lot. And hits and misses, as you would expect, 0 regrets because I absolutely accomplished my goal of learning as much as I could. But the first goal for this year that I've written down is to knit less. Now, don't click away. I don't fully mean less. It's more to output less. The real way that I would phrase this intention is to be more intentional. Let's say be more deliberate. I want to be more deliberate with my makes, and if that means taking a incredibly long time to do like some intricate fingering weight color work project, I think I'll be a lot more proud of that by the end of the year than like a high output. And that's to me what my knitting has always been about, and what like I hope that I have been talking about on this channel. Is to focus more on quality over quantity. So that's number 1. Going along with that, I've also written down here to slow down with my knitting and to fix my mistakes, rip back and frog when I need to. I might give you a sneak peek of my first knit of the year. I've absolutely been doing this. I think I've already frogged back my current knit like 5 times. But that has been like a very good experience for me in learning patience, and like there's no rush. In a way, last year being my first year of knitting garments, I was almost like desperate to have these first sweaters and first cardigans so that I could start wearing them. Now that I have a few sweaters and cardigans in my wardrobe that work really well, I don't feel that like desperation for the finished object anymore, which again is going to lead to me slowing down. A couple other things I wrote down just for practicality's sake is more accessories. I wear the accessories a ton. It's freezing here. If I have a wool hat, I am wearing it. And also more cardigans than sweaters. I don't so much mean that in like the quantitative sense, like I'm not going to be counting each sweater and then making sure that I do more cardigans, but just in general, I should be doing more cardigans because newsflash, they're very practical. Okay, next thing I've written down is to take better notes. This is for your sake now that I am now sharing a lot of what I make. It's also for my own. The number of times that I have started a project recently and thought to myself something like, oh, well, what needle size did I use last time I used this yarn? And I just didn't write it down. So I've been trying to practice like keeping a notebook with me and actually using it all of the time. I know that I've had a lot of people suggest to me like apps and voice notes and that kind of thing. I don't love having more screen time than I need to. So for me, the notebook works really well, and I just need to practice it and then eventually take those notes and put them into Ravelry so that I can share them with all of you. So those were my intentions. I've also written down some goals. These are, at least in my head, a little bit more specific, but they're not something I'm going to be strict about. It's more just specific things I want to do this year. So the first one is actually quite vague. I've written down learn something new, but in my head, I know that there are a few techniques that I have, more than a few techniques that I haven't tried yet. Not because I've been avoiding them, but the right pattern hasn't come up. So if the opportunity presents itself and I fall in love with a pattern that has one of these techniques, I would like to jump on it so that I can learn more. A few that I've written down off the top of my head is brioche and half fisherman's rib. I just haven't had the chance to do yet, but I'm really interested in it. Also seaming garments, so like knitting them in pieces and then seaming them together. And I've also written down raglans, which just for some reason I have not done a raglan yet. I understand how it would work, but I haven't done it. Next goal I've written down kind of goes with one of the previous ones, and that is to knit a vintage pattern. I just think that would be really interesting and really fun. This craft has so much history to it that I would love to learn more about that history and play into it and also share it with all of you. And my last goal is kind of a wild card. I want to learn how to read and knit at the same time. So currently my main thing that I do while knitting is watching TV or watching YouTube. I would love to be able to read a book while knitting. And now the obvious solution here is audiobooks. I've never been an audiobook girl. I just haven't. I might give it another try, but it's just never been my thing. I do like to have either the e-reader or the physical book. E-reader will definitely be the way to go for this so that I can like make the font bigger. But I'm also looking for advice on this one. If you're able to read and knit at the same time, I think that is such a talent, and please teach me your ways. Sari Nordland posted a video on Instagram a while back where she was knitting a cabled sweater and had a book in front of her. And I commented something like, oh, that's a superpower. You're a superhero. And she replied that like she wouldn't read on like the cable rows, which cool, but it's still insane. So this is something that I want to learn how to do. I do have some stockinette patterns planned, so I think I'll kind of line that up with those. But yeah, a bit of a wild card. I just mostly want to read more, and if I can multitask, that would be great. So those are my overall plans for the year, and now I'm going to go ahead and share my mood board with you. I will give you some context here before I get into it. The way that I plan my knitting, I had a bit of a realization maybe halfway through last year that I have a lot better luck with my finished knits if they started from an inspiration place that was more, I'll say conceptual, but really what I mean is like an inspiration picture, something like a Pinterest picture of an outfit. I'll give you a few examples here. There was a Pinterest picture from last year that I really liked. I ended up making the Tolsta tank by Rebecca Clow. There was another one I really liked, which I think was a Doan sweater, and I ended up doing the waffle loop sweater by Other Loops. There was also a textured cardigan. I think it was actually a cabled cardigan, but I ended up doing the Esther jacket by Petite Knit. So the goal of these is not to do like dupes. I know that you could do a better job of like making it match the inspiration picture exactly, but it's more to have that image of a garment that matches a certain vibe, and then I can go looking for a pattern and a yarn that would get me to that place. I find that I have a lot better luck integrating my pieces into my wardrobe if I go that route, rather than, for example, I've got some yarn lying around. I'm going to scroll through Ravelry until I find a sweater that has that weight. For me, starting from the garment concept rather than the yarn or the pattern tends to be the way to go. So you're going to see a lot of that on my plans for this year and my Make 9, where it might not be a specific pattern, but I will find a pattern to match the inspiration picture. And we'll talk through all of that. Okay, so here is a zoomed out view of my mood board for the year. You'll see there is a bit of a color story going on here. These are mostly just colors that I know I feel very comfortable with and that I would like to knit more with. And then we do have 9 images. So this is my Make 9. Only a few of them are actually knitting patterns. So let's just go through them one by one. I'll maybe start in the top right here. The first thing I have here is just mittens. So I am expecting this to be a mitten year for me. I did the kitten catch mittens in December as a Christmas present. I still haven't done any mittens for myself, and it is so cold right now that I need some. So, by the way, for these patterns, I don't have all of the information in front of me right now, so I will put it on the screen. The ones pictured are the January mittens. And then another one that I've saved is the Songbird mittens, and I've actually already cast that on. Very excited about it. So I'm planning to just make this a little bit of a list of mitten patterns that catch my eye, and this right now for me is sort of like having a sock pattern on the side where maybe I have one garment and one sock. Or in this case, mitten. So really excited about that plan. It's also just been a great way for me to use sock yarn that I have lying around. I'll show you one of the things in the yarn bowl that I have here. So this is 3 colors of a West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply that I have lying around. You can see that only one hasn't been used yet. And this is the color scheme that I'm thinking of for those January mittens. And since they're called January mittens, I do feel like I should do them in January. Don't know if that will happen because I already have started another mitten, but we'll see. By the way, I'm using Milanote for all of my planning. This is the tool that I like to use for anything that resembles a mood board. It lets you kind of take pictures from elsewhere on the internet and organize it to your liking. And as you can see, links and sort of color palettes like this. So moving down here, this is the next one that is a knitting pattern. And this is one I've had my eye on for a long time, and it's by one of my favorite designers, so I feel really confident in it. This is the Zakuri cardigan by Noriko Ishikawa. I'm very excited about this because I think it would be a fantastic basic. It would also be my first raglan construction. And the recommended yarn for it is something that I've really been wanting to try, which is Durarium Natura Gilead. And what I'm thinking for this, because it's such a basic, is a pop of color. So I'm thinking of kind of like a deep red, almost burgundy kind of color. And the Gilead does have some options. I've put one of them on the screen here, but there's quite a few that I could choose between. So I'm really excited about that. It also plays into my goal of making more cardigans this year. And yeah, okay, I'll maybe keep moving around the exterior here. What should we talk about next? Okay, I'll talk about this image up here. So this is the first one that's not a knitting pattern as far as I know. I suppose it might be. I did just find it on Pinterest. But this is something that I saved because I want a winter set, like a nice basic matching scarf, hat, mittens combo that I can grab. I like the idea of doing it ribbed, like in this picture. The only reason I haven't cast this on yet is because I don't know what color I would want to do. Probably a neutral like in this picture, but I also like the idea of doing like a pop of color, maybe a blue or a red. I don't know, haven't decided yet. The pattern that I have in mind for this, although it's subject to change, is the Winter Essentials pattern by Suzanne Muller. So this includes a mitten, a hat, and I believe like a dickie as well. I would do a scarf instead, but that would be super easy. And I don't know about yarn for that one either. This is one of those ones where it won't be for this winter because we're already into January. But at some point this year, if I stumble across like a perfect yarn in a perfect color for this, I would grab like a sweater quantity, but for making accessories rather than a sweater. Okay, moving right along here. This is maybe my first crazy one. This is the first one that I would say really plays into that quality over quantity, really taking my time with things. This is clearly like a vintage LL Bean, at least I think it's vintage. Yeah. LL Bean sweater. The reason that I have it here though is because this is the color palette that I like. And what I've really been interested in, if I click through to this, is fingering weight colorwork vests. And you can see I've been saving a lot of pictures and I have some colors in mind. So I've really just been dumping here like any picture of a Fair Isle, I assume fingering weight vest that catches my eye. And I've been loving all of the color palettes that I'm seeing here. Some of the images are more modern, maybe fast fashion, I'm not sure. But just the general idea of these, I like the men's ones too because I would want to do this oversized, which is another reason this would be quality over quantity, take a long time. But yeah, I'm really excited about this idea. In my head, I'm kind of thinking that this would be a good summer project. Like rather than doing summer tops, I could like spend the entire summer working on this and then have like the perfect autumn piece. So pattern ideas for this, I have saved a few. I've saved the Roosty tank top. There's also the Big Dipper vest. And there is the Bruntsfield. The Bruntsfield seems to be like a really popular option, so that would be a pretty like safe bet, I think. But the other thing that I've been toying with here is that my idea of doing a vintage pattern this year would play in really well to this. If I could find like a vintage men's fingering weight Fair Isle, and then I could make up the entire color palette to go with it. I also really love the Marie Wallen vests, by the way. Could absolutely see myself doing one of those. But they do tend to be, I think, maybe more colors than what I see in these kind of inspiration pictures. When I look at the pattern pages for the Marie Wallen ones, they seem to have like 8, 10, 12 colors. I would maybe want to do more like 5, 6, maybe. So yeah, this is big project. And as you can see from how much I have here, not even close to like the finishing stages of planning. Okay, so that's the reason for that image. If we keep moving around the board now. Oh, let's do this one next. This one I have labeled the Leah. I've actually saved in the past a couple of pictures that look like this one. It's basically like a oversized short sleeve gray crew neck cardigan. And again, I just think this would be super practical for any kind of like spring or fall day where you don't need the warmest cardigan, but you maybe want to throw something on top of a tank top. And I actually have the pattern for this and some of the yarn. So the pattern for this is the Leah cardigan by Sandnes Garn. And I just picked up the pamphlet for this when I was shopping once, and it looks to be like perfect. I believe the yarn for it is Double Sunday. But then I realized I have 2 skeins of Filcolana Arwetta. Don't know what the color is for this. I think it's just like light gray. I got this to make socks, but looking at it next to this picture, I feel like I need to hold it double and make this cardigan. So I'll just get more of this, and that's the plan. And that one, I could see myself casting on fairly soon, maybe as like a spring project. Okay, and if we shift over here to the next one, this might be my next crazy one. I haven't fully decided yet, but I've really been into these sort of sailor collars. This one looks really neat from the front too. I'll include a picture of that. The thing is, this is a knitting pattern. It's a pattern by Daruma. It is not in English. It is only in Japanese. So my options here would be to try to knit a pattern that is not in English and I do not speak a word of Japanese, which could be a fun challenge. It could definitely be a fun video. Or I could find a similar pattern that is in English, or I could try to self-draft something. So there are options here, but yeah, this is the pattern. As you can see, it is not in English, but I love the look of it, and I could see myself doing this in a navy. That would probably be my plan. I could also see myself doing this in a cotton merino, so like a DK weight cotton merino, so that it could be another good like spring fall garment. Moving right along. I'll go down here next to a cabled vest. This is another one that's in like very early stages of planning. Even if I go into the board I have here, you can see I don't have a ton, but I am really liking the idea of a probably V-neck, but I could also do a crew neck, cabled vest. I think, again, it would be very practical over like a t-shirt or a long sleeve t-shirt. And when I was making my Lauder cardigan last year, I remember thinking that I could see myself using the V-neck cardigan pattern and just not doing the sleeves and having a vest version of that. So that would be a good option since I'm already familiar with the pattern. I've also saved this pattern here, which is for a button-up crew neck cabled vest, and that one I'm really liking the look of. So I think I would do one of those two, or I could also see myself self-drafting something here. I have self-drafted cables in the past. If I'm gonna self-draft anything this year, it will probably be a cable pattern, and I think that that would be another good learning experience for me, a good like challenge of a project rather than just getting something done quickly. I have this thing with cables, and this is what happened the last time I self-drafted, where I get this specific cable pattern in my head and I do like a deep dive onto Ravelry to find a pattern for it, and in the end nothing exists, so I need to like modify something. That's what happened last time. Okay, moving along. This is another one that is not a knitting pattern as far as I know. I believe that I did, when I found this on Pinterest, like maybe over a year ago, a like reverse Google image search, and it doesn't appear to be a knitting pattern. But this is very clearly a mohair color work round neck sweater. And I have had this one on my Pinterest for so long. I just love the color palette of it, and it screams to me knitting for olive. So I already have a color palette in mind for this. I think that the base would probably be knitting for olive, dusty dove blue in their mohair and merino, and then a cream for the contrast color and some kind of like cool toned brown for the other contrast color. So again, this is starting from an inspiration picture, so I don't have a specific pattern in mind for it. So a couple of patterns that I've saved here as like options. I don't think I would self-draft something for this just because I think I'm less comfortable with color work. But one that I made last year, this was actually my first sweater ever. If you don't do this as a first sweater, it's not a beginner pattern, but if you do want more details, go to my Everything I Knit in 2025 video. This is the Pajola pullover by Sari Nordland, and I had some fit issues with this where it seemed like very small at the fingering weight that it's meant to be at. So when I was looking at this inspiration picture, I started to think, what if I held the fingering weight with a mohair, which is what this would be, and then just allowed it to be off gauge? And from my previous experience with this pattern, I have a feeling it would work. So that's one option. If I had to play around with math and do some gauge math, that's fine too. The other pattern I've saved here is the Arctica jumper by Sasky & Co. This is from Sasky & Co.'s book, Arctic Knits, which I have. So this is a pattern that I would be making use of something that I have, which I love. But this would also be off gauge. I believe that the gauge for this one is worsted weight, so it would be like the opposite. Whereas the Pajola would be fingering weight going up to DK, this one would be worsted weight going down to DK. So again, not too worried about that. I could do some math to make it work. But I think that these would both be good options to fit the inspiration picture that I have. And I'm happy to take suggestions too. If you know of any DK patterns that you think would be a good option for this project, I'm happy to hear it. I think this will be a cast on pretty soon though. This feels like a very winter sweater to me. So I think I would like to do it in like January or February. And I also have a gift card from Christmas that I would like to use for the yarn. We have one left. It's the one in the middle. I really want to do just a classic cabled white, off-white Aran pullover. I already have the yarn for this because I wanted to do it last fall, but long story short, the yarn didn't arrive in time. The yarn that I have for it is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the color cream. So I have the yarn. I haven't picked the pattern yet. Again, I feel like this could be a self-drafting option. This is another one where I just saved a specific picture for like the overall vibe. But you can see that I've got a lot of patterns I'm considering. I don't have all of the details for them in front of me, so I will put them on the screen and link to them. But options I've been considering are the Serena sweater, the Orium sweater, the Ogden sweater, the Shannon sweater, and the Baguette sweater. Now, if I remain indecisive, I could also see myself like self-drafting something, maybe taking inspiration from a few different ones on this list. But if you have any strong feelings or experience with any of those patterns, I would love to hear it. And yeah, I'm super excited about that plan. At this point, I feel like it will probably be a next fall thing, maybe like an August cast on that I can have ready for September. But yeah, this just feels very autumnal to me. And that is my overall plans and mood board for the year. Okay, I'm coming back later. Little bonus section that I forgot to discuss here. Repurposing yarn is something that I want to get into this year. If you watched my Everything I Knit in 2025 video, there were 3 finished objects from last year that I've identified as just like not fully working for me for whatever reason. For the most part, it's just like the yarn not matching the pattern in the way that I thought it would, or in a way that integrates well into my wardrobe. So with kind of sustainability in mind, wanting to use what I have, I want to frog all 3 of those projects and turn them into something else. So the 3 projects are the Sunday sweater, which is, the yarn for it is the important part. It's Sandnesgarn Kos and Knitting for Olive Mohair. Not sure if I'm going to use the mohair yet, and also the reason that I haven't frogged it yet is just because I know it's going to be a pain to frog. Worth it, I will do it, but it will be a pain to frog something with a mohair. But the plan for this is to make a Berlin scarf. So that's kind of a side plan for the year. I can see this too being like a nice stockinette easy project, maybe to learn how to read and knit at the same time. Next one is the Sabai top. This is in Lana Grossa Eco Puno in a really pretty color. My only issue with this was that the yarn has some alpaca in it. It doesn't work great as a summer top, in my opinion. So my plan for this is to frog it and turn it into the Poet Scarf by Sari Nordland. I could see this being a really good spring project because the yarn is like so close to being a summer yarn that I think it would be a good object to have on just like cooler spring days. Okay, and the final one is definitely the one that I need your suggestions on. This is the Olives vest, which I knit in Sandnes Garn Sunday in the color Matcha, held double. So it is a fingering weight yarn that I held double to get a DK. So what I will end up having once I frog it is like a full sweater's worth of fingering weight yarn. What I am considering is buying some mohair to match that frogged yarn. And if I go into this matcha board here, I would very much like your input on this because I have identified now 3 patterns and I feel kind of torn between them. So the 3 patterns that I have identified, the first would be the Un Sweater Light. And the reason this stuck out to me, it is the right weight. And if you look on the Ravelry, the most favorited project is using this exact yarn. So that to me is like a really good proof of concept. It looks great in the project that person made. So that is option number 1. Option number 2 is the Sandro pullover, which I know people have made in fingering plus a mohair quite a bit. So that again has some good proof of concept. I think it would be another really good basic using this yarn. And I like the idea of basically like a classic cabled sweater, but in this not so classic color. I think that would be a fun thing. And then the final option, so funny, somebody in the Everything I Knit in 2025 video commented that it would look really good as stripes with navy, and I had already been thinking the exact same thing. So the idea here is to get some Sunday. The one that I've got a picture of here is the colorway Night Sky, which is another petite knit colorway. And I have used that in the past for my Gregoria shawl, so I know it's a really lovely, sorry, no. Is that what it's called? The Gregoria shawl? Barbara shawl by Gregoria Fibers. So I know it's a lovely color. And I also was able to take that shawl, put it next to the yarn that I have, and I know that it would be a good match. So I would get that plus mohair and have a DK weight. And I would do either, I think, the Olga jacket or the Olga pullover. They both look really nice. I have had luck in the past with petite knit cardigan patterns because I did the Esther jacket last year. But yeah, let me know what you think. I guess in a way this is 4 options. And if anybody has a strong opinion, wants to vote down in the comments, the options are Un Sweater Light, Sandro pullover, Olga jacket, or Olga pullover. But I'm really excited about frogging these projects from last year because it means less shopping for me. It's basically a free project. And I really like that I can kind of save those projects from last year and be a little bit more sustainable. Okay, so if you were just here for the knitting plans, happy to have you here. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do a little chatty section now about plans for this channel. So if you do want to stick around for that, feel free. First of all, new channel name. This is a decision I've been playing around with for a while now. If you're familiar with the old channel name, it had to do with a lot of the values we were talking about earlier in this video with like slowing down, being intentional, quality over quantity. Those are still like the goals and the values that I want to display on this channel. But I think I have come to the realization that I think you guys get that, anyone who stayed for this long in the video. But I also would never want someone new to come across these videos and see knit slowly in the channel name and then start to compare themselves. Because again, the value here is like quality over quantity. Speed doesn't matter. So nothing's really changing, but new channel name, and I hope you all like it. Okay, I've also been thinking a lot about what kind of videos I want to do this year. Love these planning videos. I could see this being a seasonal thing. I also, again, I started this channel back in, I think like late September, early October. So I kind of spent the end of the year like learning video editing and also like playing around with different video formats. Of course, there's like the standard knitting podcast. I say that with air quotes because like obviously it's not a real podcast, but it is just terminology that the entire knitting community has agreed on, it seems. So I'm happy to use that terminology. I love a knitting podcast because you can see anyone's knitting podcast on YouTube, and even if you're not familiar with them, it's like a comfort TV show, right? Where you click on it and you know what you're getting into. So I love a knitting podcast. I'm not going to stop doing them. I do think they might be less regular this year, though, because of the goals that we talked about here. I never want to kind of like pressure myself to make more or make faster because of this channel. So my tentative plan is to do like maybe every other month a knitting podcast where I like sit down and show you finished objects and what I've been working on. But what I'm planning to do on a more regular basis is I'll say knitting vlogs, but what I've been calling them on my channel is the project journals. I'll link to a playlist in the description of this video. I found that to be really nice because it's almost like taking notes on my projects as I'm working on them, which is why I called it a project journal. And it allows me to like share the process with you rather than in the knitting podcasts. The issue is sometimes that showing you a finished object, I don't remember all of the things that happened during the process. So I'm thinking of doing more of those project journals this year, maybe on like a project by project basis or like putting 2 projects together into one journal. Let me know what you think though. I feel like it allows me to be a little bit more creative in terms of making videos, and I really enjoy making them. And then of course there's also other videos that I will sometimes upload on the channel, and I wanted to ask for your suggestions for this. I know that especially recently I've had a lot of beginners come to my channel, and if that is you, welcome. I am so glad to have you. I've been trying to kind of make my videos in a sense that I'm like talking to myself from a year or 2 ago, and that I want to help out people who are just getting started. So I hope that all of my videos are somewhat accessible to beginners, but I would also like to know from you guys, I guess, as a beginner, when you are looking through knitting YouTube, what do you wish that you saw more of? What do you wish people talked about more? What do you think would be helpful to someone just getting started in their journey? Okay, I think that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back fairly soon, probably with one of those project journals. So yeah, thank you.